Hi.
I am here today because I want to give you guys a little bit of an instruction on how to meditate. Now that we have our community meditation every month, I thought it was a good idea to give you guys a little bit of instruction so that we have a very nice, peaceful introduction in the sanctuary while we are practicing. And obviously this goes for anybody, wherever you have your sacred space or a nice place in which you like to practice. Create that for yourself. You know, environment and timing is everything when you're cultivating a practice. It's not about perfection. It's about finding some peacefulness within you, setting the stage for that so that it could be a cumulative practice. You know, a little bit, even every other day, goes a really, really long way. So let me start by talking about an environment. I mean, obviously we have a sacred space here for you, a majestic Hudson, but you can also just find a small place in your house. It doesn't have to look like this, but you can light a candle. If you want to burn some incense or something else, lay out your crystals, anything you want, or just a simple place in which you feel very comfortable. If you need to wear an extra sweater or something, a prayer shawl, you know, please bring those along for your practice and keep them nearby. We have cushions here too, right? Finding someplace that you're very, very comfortable sitting on. These are buckwheat cushions. They're very well known. We have them here and they really help you sit up very, very properly so that you don't have to worry about any shift in your posture during the practice. And I also have a bell here, a little bell. In formal meditations, I'm going to teach you a very simple Buddhist technique. And we usually chime in out of a practice. So I'm keeping time for you today. But in the notes, I will tell you about some apps that you can use at home to help guide your practice. So here we go. Let's talk about this. So today we're going to learn about calm abiding, or what's known as shamatha. This is a very simple technique, although performing it can be very blissful at times, but also challenging because it's very, as we all know, it's hard to quiet the mind. The mind will not turn off, you know, due to popular opinions out there. Meditation is not about turning the brain off. That's completely impossible to do. But with regular practice, we actually are able to cultivate really beautiful sacred spaces between the thoughts. And at least for me personally, when I began my practice many years ago, that was the one thing that I just thought was so beautiful, is to be able to change my perspective and about how I do things in my life. You know, the longer the pauses, the less my priority list became as important. Yes, I could get things done, but I could get them done with more grace, and I wasn't overwhelmed or anxious or any of those types of things. So I'm gonna give you a little bit of instruction. I would say do try to meditate 5 to 10 minutes every day if you can to start. Hopefully that becomes 20 minutes. And there's, you know, even more so, even if it's 10 minutes one day or 20 minutes another day or an hour here at the sanctuary, you know, once a month, that cumulative practice really makes a difference. So set that as a very loose goal for yourself so that you can really see the benefits of the practice. I'm just going to dive in here. Let's just start, right? So you're going to find a seat, a comfortable seat. You could sit on a chair, you could sit on a cushion, you could find another posture even against the wall. I will encourage you to sit somewhere or somehow that keeps you mindfully awake. You know, the idea of the Buddha being awake in his practice or their practice, right? Is that being awake in the mind, we're also awake in the body. So normally a practice starts with a very formal position. This is like an asana seat that I'm doing right now, but it could be very simply any other variation, and I could help you with that too if you have something that, you know, is in the way of how you sit. We can always find an alternative to keep you awake and mindful during your practice. So I'm taking this Sukhasana pose. I'm just sitting here upright, and I'm sort of stacking my bones upwards to the crown of my head. Right? So shrug my shoulders up and back. And I like to have my palms down for this practice. It feels like it's cultivating all the energy going inward. And I'm going to very softly close my eyes. Now, it doesn't have to be eyes closed. Formal practices actually will keep their eyes slightly open, almost like you're looking at a candlelight on the floor. Obviously, you want to keep your perspective or your vision somewhere that your neck does not get to a place that feels like it's uncomfortable, right? So loosen the neck right off the bat, loosen the shoulders, let it all out of your facial expressions so that you could just feel completely relaxed and supported in your posture. So palms facing down, and then close your vision in either on an object or within yourself. And then we're going to focus deeply on our breath. So the breath is one of the biggest tools that we have when we're being in meditation, right? If you ever start to lose yourself in your meditation, your thoughts start to wander too much or something else, always come back to the breath. Even if you have to place a hand on your upper chest or your belly, sometimes if I'm not changing posture, I'll just bring myself inward by just changing one hand posture. You don't have to do that. But it's just anything that works for you. This is also your practice. I'm only teaching you one technique here today. So I want you to handle this technique very simply and with grace. So what works for you could work for you every day of the week. So keep it in your back pocket and keep going. So eyes are closed or slightly open, and we're keying into that breath. The rise and fall of the breath, very easy, very open and expressive. It doesn't have to be too deep or too fast or too slow. It's just the Goldilocks syndrome, right? Just right, feeling just right with your breath. So we're gonna find that for just a few moments here. If you wanna follow along with me, just completely rest in your posture, your upright posture, and focus on your breath. The more you rest and breathe, you'll start to feel like you're relaxing a little bit. That's a little bit of the calmness coming about. Things are feeling okay. You can even smile. I often tell people to smile during their practice because hey, it's working. I feel good. I'm practicing. And then really just stay with it for yourself. And after a few moments, once you start to feel somewhat restful and poised, I'm going to introduce another form of your practice here, or actually we're going to begin the practice, I should say. So there's 3 parts to this practice of shamatha, or calm abiding. Once you feel steady in your seat, once you feel like your breath feels nice and gentle and softened, we're going to start to just simply observe our thoughts. So you're sitting here very restful and precious, precious inventory of your thoughts. They'll start to come up because we can't turn the brain off, right? So the next time a thought arises, I want you to actually let it do that. The thought arises into your mind's eye. Let it float. Let it come up there. And notice that you are actually thinking. The thought arises. And then when we notice we're thinking, the second part is we're abiding in the thought. We're recognizing the thought. You can literally say to yourself, I'm thinking. Allow yourself to just say, I am thinking. And then the third part is once you recognize that thought and it's there where it is, you're going to let that thought dissolve. And sometimes it's truly very easy for the thought to dissolve. As I said, sometimes it's blissful, sometimes it's challenging. But overall, the practice is really, there's a simpleness, a real simple action to this practice. You allow your thought to arise. You abide with the thought. Tell yourself, I'm thinking. Stay with your breath until the thought preciously dissolves and goes away. One of my favorite analogies of this practice is just imagine a gigantic blue sky, the bluest, brightest, loveliest sky you can imagine. And what you're going to do is all of a sudden notice there's one little cloud in the sky. Like a cartoon cloud just comes up out of nowhere. And gently, over time, the wind just casts that cloud slowly, evenly, past the blue sky, through the blue sky, until the cloud is gone and you're right back to that beautiful, beautiful blue sky. So that's really it. That's simply the practice. I'm going to say that traditionally you should chime in and chime out of your practice. You should keep time. As I mentioned, I'm going to put in the notes some apps. But in a minute or two, I'm going to just add another element to this video of us just meditating together for about 5 minutes. We're going to follow along. So I will chime us in. I will keep time for us. And then I'll chime at the end. And then you have your instruction to take with you anytime you want. If you have any questions, feel free to just reach out to me here at Majestic Hudson. And I wish you a blessed practice. Thank you so much. the end of the practice, just slowly dissolve out of your practice, deepen your breath, and take your time to just gently come back into the room or wherever you have going on. Honor the time that it takes you to come out of your practice as well. Just a little note that any distractions that you hear, we have a little bit of construction going on here and whatnot, like all those little things, they're part of the practice. And that's what helps you be more in the present moment and not let things, be taken so seriously. I'm just going to leave you with a couple of words of wisdom from one of my teachers, who once said that during the practice, you think about making friends with yourself. The quote was, "May I meet this moment fully, may I meet it as a friend." I just love that, just becoming friends with ourselves, and first and foremost, to find that calmness in our lives and help us with so many wonderful things. So from one spiritual friend to another, I'd like to thank you for your time. And if you have any other questions about this particular meditative practice, please reach out, and I'll see you really soon. Be well.